Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hobby Lodge. I would like to do a room tour for you, but also very much for myself as a bit of a diary, because I'm planning to do some big changes inside the Hobby Lodge, and therefore I want to take this point in time just to show what it looks like now, because hopefully this time next year it will look very, very different. So let's take a look inside. So as we step in, I'm sure many of you have seen this before, but yeah, I'll give you a quick sweep of the room. You can see this is obviously where I sit over here. We've got my painting area, we've got the board games, and then we go more into the retro. And of course down here we have the 3D printing. So I'll just walk around, I'll tell you about each thing. But like I said, this is more because I actually think the room needs a real change for next year. And that's my plan to do so. So let's kick off, shall we? So first off, we have the 3D printing space. Now this is something that I think will change next year, because to be honest, I don't 3D print as much as I used to. Really, it is only maybe console stands or the odd bit of terrain that I'll print. So as you can see there, I have an FDM Anycubic, I have a resin Elegoo Mars, and the Anycubic Wash and Cure, which is for your resin prints. And I have some toys on top. Now these aren't the old ones, sadly. They are the remakes that they did of He-Man and Skeletor, but I like them so much I got them. I had these as a child, yeah, it was nice to put them on, but they're just ornaments really. But yeah, the 3D printing, whilst it is very cool, I do still really like 3D printing stuff when I can. I don't use it anywhere near as much as I used to, so maybe this is something that's going to change in the next iteration of the room. We then go to where my Amiga 1200, and what would be hanging there is my Commodore 64, but as you can see, it's still on the table. It very rarely gets put away, if I'm honest, but it's a nice way to put your devices out of the way by wall hanging them. I would recommend doing it. Again, all 3D printed, so all the hooks and that you see in the room, all the stands, I've 3D printed myself. So yeah, you simply place your device up on the wall like that, keeps it nicely out of the way, but you can see this has been the big thing for this year. The Commodore 64, the Amiga 1200, absolutely in love with them, and I am embarking, I should say, on the Hit Squad collection for the Commodore 64, but you can also see the Homebrew collection beginning to build as well, and this is just the tapes. I think next year the tape section of the Hobby Lodge will be pretty large, given I have 122 Hit Squads to go for, and still a myriad of homebrew games to collect. Something else new is the Harlequin, which I purchased from Retrobait. Now this is essentially a ZX clone, or a new kind of ZX Spectrum that emulates both the ZX81, the ZX Plus 2, and so on. So I never owned the Spectrum as a child, and I always have banter with the guys about Commodore and Spectrum, but yeah, it was really nice to get this so I could experience some of the ZX Spectrum's library, especially the Homebrew, of which there's been some fantastic games this year on Homebrew. And there is a copy of Phoenix Adventure up there, which is very sort of nostalgic for me, as this is a game my dad played when I was very, very small. But that case is etched in my memory, as I've spoken about before. I'm really happy to have a copy of that, and I in fact now also have the original copy of it as well. But this one means a lot because this was given to me by a good friend, Sire Ginger Hippie Gaming, and obviously the Harlequin I bought from Paul Retrobait. So you know, it's a nice story to have that on the wall there. So we might as well talk about the table being just the biggest thing in the room, and again something I think that will change next year. So this is actually one of those kind of multi-tables. It's a 5 foot by 3 foot, I believe, pool table, and then I've got a 6 by 4 foot table topper on top. And the reason for this is because when we played a lot of the big war games, this is the size table you need to play those war games on. So I'm talking Warhammer 40k, Age of Sigmar, those types of games. Now the reality is we don't play that many of them anymore, and we've gone down to more skirmish level tabletop war games. So there isn't a need for a table this large in here anymore. So this year I think we'll look at cutting this down to maybe just the size of the pool table underneath. It also means we can use the pool table, which would be quite nice. It also is an air hockey table and other such. But really, mostly this table gets used for putting systems on the table or board games on the table. And I do think it takes up an awful lot of space and is something that could be changed. As you can see, my Commodore 64 is pride of place on the table. I do put it away every now and then. It does get hanged back on the wall, but not for very long, if I'm honest. So yeah, this is the thing that I play the most in the Hobby Lodge. I absolutely love it. I was reunited back with it this year, again thanks to Paul Retrobate, who sold me this machine. Dodgy keyboard though, Paul, don't forget. It's not new. Inside joke there. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I just love it. It's the machine I had when I was a child. I've managed to replace all the bits that I had, so the original joystick, the disc drive. I'm now even picking up games and discs and everything I can, and I want to kind of make this a centerpiece for the future of the Hobby Lodge. So there are people out there that have done this before, where they've created their childhood space. So in one of the corners of the room, so maybe over here or over there or over there, I'm going to create like an 80s corner and have this permanently set up on a computer desk, with posters, with whatever I feel like is appropriate to put out at the time, because this is the machine I will be focusing on going forward, along with the Amiga. But the Commodore 64, yes, it's true, I've fallen hard, and there's no two ways about it. I absolutely love this machine. But the table, I think, will be probably one of the largest changes that happens, because I just don't need something of this size anymore, where you can get 4, 5, 6 people around the table. So yeah, over here we just have various upscalers, so the OSSC box and the Retro Scaler 2X, which I highly recommend actually, for your older consoles. It works really, really well. So yeah, that's that, and we'll keep going. If we sweep around to where I mostly spend a lot of my time, this is my work area, as it were. So not only do I do all of my video content from here, but also this is where I do my job as well. As you can see, another new addition. The Amiga 600 is permanently set up on the desk now. It's a nice size to have set up on the desk. Another one of my childhood joysticks there. It's surrounded by games. Mostly these are old PC games I used to have, because I do have a original XP PC that I use. On the desk itself, my Retron 5, which is really handy. Obviously everything in this room, goes without saying, everything in this room is hooked up to go through capture cards, because I want everything to be able to be captured. So the Amigas, the Commodore, the Retron 5, the Switch, the PC, everything in here goes through various capture cards that I'm able to make content with it, because I think that's important to be able to do that. Even the cameras that I use for painting and the ones I have up in the ceiling and elsewhere, everything in this room can be captured, and that's just something I can do. And I use multiple devices for that, from Elgato to Avia Media and a few others, so they work really well. Another thing I've got is things like this old Mac. So this Mac is actually a really powerful Mac laptop, but unfortunately one of my children broke the screen on it. Now the screen is extremely expensive to replace, so what I've done is turned it into essentially a desktop. So it's now running, it has the lid closed at all times, it's wall mounted so it's out of the way, and it can display on any one of my screens so that I can use it. That way I can have a Windows environment when I need it, but also a Mac environment as well when I want it for various reasons. Underneath, simply just the PCs. I won't go under there too much, it's cable hell, another thing that needs to be solved. But we have an original Windows XP PC, very high end for its era, and then also my desktop PC I use myself. And I have hookups here for various other things, including my very high-end gaming laptop, which is not down here at the moment because it's up at the house. So yeah, nice gaming chair, nice and comfy. Added some extra cushions here and there because I sit in it an awful lot, but nothing special to talk about that really. And that's the space there. Nice little extra screen here, which I use a Chromecast on. Basically I use it as a picture frame, but also it has some old output stuff. If I need to test anything, I can test it on that small screen. The Commodore 64 Maxi, another recent pickup, so that I have this for homebrew games, and I also want to use some painted models, speakers. There is 5.1 surround sound in the Lodge. I like to have good sound in here. And as you can see at the top there, loads and loads of board games. As we come down, this piece hasn't really changed. So this is the original painting area I had. As you can see, I have cameras set up. I like to use old phones. You'd be surprised how good cameras are in old phones. So rather than buying webcams or digital DSLR cams, if you can pick up old phones like Samsung 10s and so on, and iPhone 10s or whatever, they have amazing cameras in them, and you can use them for your own webcams. And as I do for this, for instance, I use it as a close-up cam for when I'm painting, so you can see all the details of what I'm doing. But yeah, there we go. This is the painting station. Not much has changed. And we'll see what happens to this in the future. It may get a little bit smaller because again, I'm not painting as much as I used to. Although I do want to get back to it. I really want to pick up the brushes again and get back into the hobby. This corner of the room really is storage. So lots and lots of storage bins for all of the board games, card games, terrain, armies and so on that we use in our games. And again, it's great racking space, but it's not what I want the room to look like in the future. Now there is an opportunity that I extend next door. This lodge is actually cut, not in half, but there's certainly another quarter of this lodge that's unused, and it's used as more of a shed. So I may be taking that over and moving a lot of what is in store here into that room, because it doesn't need to be on display. It is literally drawers and racking. So that makes that a lot of space I would get back in here and just line this up down a flat wall in the other side. So yeah, lots of stuff, lots of board games again, as you saw around the top, lots of models. But a lot of this doesn't need to be out on display, because it's only needed when it's needed, when we're playing a game. So I'm hoping that I can potentially free up this entire corner, and that is the plan. And it would be great if that was my 80s corner in there, where I could put my desk and my Commodore and so on and so forth. We have the display cabinet. Now we did reduce this down a little bit. I have sold some models, which I very rarely ever do, but it felt right to sell some stuff on. You can actually see a whole bottom space there is clear. I had some Star Wars stuff in there. But yes, not painted that much this year. In fact, the only thing I painted in 2022 is this Moonstone collection at the front here, of which there are videos and pictures on my YouTube all about. And then we are into sort of the gaming corner here, and I will talk through this a little bit, but this is the one, this is kind of what's triggered the need for a change, because it is very crowded in here now, especially in this corner, and I'd like to change it a bit. So this I think was here in the last video I did, but a lot of it is getting doubled up now, and there's not a lot of space for the things I want. Obviously you've got at the top there the Game Boys and the Game Gear. The Game Gear is the one I'm most precious about, so maybe this will trim down a little bit, but you can see over there the Commodore 64 stuff, the homebrew stuff is really starting to pick up, and that's the stuff I want to highlight more and more. The stack here is, obviously I've got the screen for the light gun games. I really enjoy playing the light gun games, and that's why the PS2 is there. And thanks to Sega Saturn Lad, I have this amazing G-Con gun with the recoil action and even a laser, which is very, very cool. So I love playing that, and I would like a better setup for it. It's not ideal being here, so I'd like to maybe move that to somewhere else so I can play it. This from Goodwin's Place, if you've not seen it, he does a whole video on how to create one of these awesome sort of pixel art gift displaying screens. I don't really quite know what the name for it is, but it's so cool. I love this being in the room, and I'd like to get that displayed in a better place as well. I'm currently printing a whole surround for it so I can wall mount it somewhere. Oh, look at that, good timing there, the C64 appears. Okay, as we go down, something that's new again, the big box Amiga collection. I'm starting to build up some games for that. And as you can see, as we go further down, we've got PS1, PS2, and a bunch of handhelds as well. Again, the PS1, PS2 certainly. I think PS2 may even leave the lodge completely, as I don't have a huge amount of love for it, unless it's the light gun games that came out. Yeah, as we move around here, we have all of these cart-only systems I collect for. The Super Nintendo will continue to grow, but I do think the Mega Drive, the Master System, and a few others will slow. The same with the Dreamcast. I'm going to just keep a handful of games, and the rest I will probably either move on or just stop collecting, because I have to be realistic about what I want in the room, and these aren't the systems that grab me by the nostalgia bits, if you were. Some great handhelds there. I'd like to get more into the handheld, so I will do. Got my Switch and PS3, quite a lot of PS3, Wii and so on. Even, you know, Xbox collection there, DS, more Wii, Wii U, GameCube, the micro consoles, the PS Vita and PSP, great handhelds again. I absolutely love the PS Vita. PS4 and even some PS5 now creeping in. The system shelf here with the Sega Saturn games, but I try and also, where I can, use systems that play multiple games. So this is the PS3 Fat that allows you to play PS1 and PS2. The Wii U, so I can play GameCube games as well. In the Wii I can play GameCube games, but the Wii U for just Wii U games. And of course the Xbox 360. I do have Xbox One up at the house, and a few other consoles up at the house, but I don't need them down here at the moment. N64 games, the Game & Watch handhelds, and then an old flat screen which allows me to display various things that I want to do. Some signage, the best that China can offer. Of course the big old PS5, but let's be honest, it rarely gets much use. Oh, my zoom is going all over the place. Clearly doesn't want to talk about that. And then the shelving that you see actually works quite well. These kind of invisible shelves. Oh, look at this. Not talked about this yet on the channel, but there is a discussion coming about the Amiga CD32. Spoiler alert. Yeah, and as we move around, big old screen. That will probably remain. I don't see why I would need to change that. But cabling, still a bit of a nightmare. Loads more board games up the top. The projector is still in the ceiling, as is there a camera. There are cameras in various different places in here because I like to have as many angles as I might need. So yeah, I will do one more sweep of the room. This is the Hobby Lodge as it stands at the end of 2022. I wonder what it will look like at the end of 2023. I love it in here. It is my happy place, so I want it to be good, and I'm not unhappy with it at all. It served me well and continues to serve me well, but I do think we can go to the next level and do something really cool with the place. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Let me know if there's anything you think I could be doing in here better or worse or whatever you might think, but I hope you enjoyed it. It's only a quick look. We've not gone too depth into anything, but I just wanted to keep it a bit short and sweet and show you, yeah, hopefully the changes throughout the year. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.